What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Arce. Welcome back to the GSD show, and today I'm here with
JT Healy.
JT is one of our account managers, been with us for a while, and together we've worked with hundreds of fitness studios, and we're going to be talking about on this episode what the best fitness studio owners do, their habits, their styles of working, and what the least successful do, sharing with you. Do with this information what you will.
If you own a gym or you need a gym, this is your guy.
My name's Mike, and I help fitness studios that are ready to take action, work hard, and grow their studios. In this very saturated industry, there's tons of competition, but the opportunities are incredible. We'll cover the most common challenges in the fitness world and invite guests in the show that have learned to overcome them and share their strategies with you. This is the GSD show. All right, everybody. So this episode is going to be great because you're going to be able to catch a lot of trends that I think you're going to find value in learning what they are, so you can start following these past two. And also, this is a special episode. This is episode 50. Can you believe that, JT?
I can't.
That's 5-0. Blow it away. We practiced that.
We did.
Beforehand, just to make sure we got it right. But this is episode 50. And we've had a lot of really great guests on the show. If you haven't gone back and watched some of the older ones, we've got some really, really good content on there that really helps fitness studio owners be successful in all different areas. Every episode, we've worked really hard on focusing on a common challenge that fitness studio owners and gym owners have. And we've brought people on these episodes to help share their strategies on how they can overcome them. And I think we've done a really great job. And every episode's getting better and better. And so we have you on this episode because you've been an account manager here for a while, and you've actually worked with a lot of fitness studios, and you've gotten to work with some really, really sharp ones, along with your team. Now, 3 other account managers out there, and I've worked on some of these as well. And we've been really able to figure out the trends of the successful people and the unsuccessful people. The common denominators are pretty clear, aren't they?
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to share these with you because for those of you that are listening and those of you that are watching, we know it's a lot easier to jump into a lake off a cliff if you know that there's safety at the bottom. You know, if nobody's jumping off this cliff, how do I know it's okay? And so we've created this show, and we've had great people in this episode in particular to let you know, hey, look at what the most successful people, look what they're doing. Look what cliffs they're jumping off of. These are safe. The unsuccessful people, they're hitting rocks.
Yeah.
Don't go off these cliffs.
Yep.
Right?
Yep, definitely.
That's a cool analogy. We just kind of came up with that. Hey there, it's Mike again. So if you're watching this episode, you've probably started to catch on as to what the best fitness studio and gym owners are doing. And we've got a special treat for you. We've put together their favorite books, the CRM that they actually use to manage their business, as well as the mission statements of the best that we actually work with over 100 fitness studio owners and gyms. So we actually put it all together, and we want to share it with you. If you like it, go to thegsdshow.com/E050. Again, that's thegsdshow.com/E050. We'll go ahead and get it sent out to you, and you can be some of the best out there too. All right, so JT, you came prepared. You've got a list of things that you want to go through, correct?
Yep, absolutely.
And you've gathered a list of things that you found are common trends. You've looked at your most successful customers, and two right off the bat. If you guys have never done this, it's great to create like a buyer persona or a customer avatar. And what I mean by a customer avatar or buyer persona, if you've never heard that phrase before, it's really determining who your ideal customer is. Look at your best customers, the ones that you find are just fun to work with, they're great, they're successful, you're successful with them. And what are their common denominators? Are they male, female? Sam, I know we've done this before. Just go ahead and put that slide up again that shows like how you can determine that. These are great questions that you could be asking, and we've determined who our 2 are, right? And so our 2 avatars are Daniel Neary and also Liberty Harper, right? And both of them have been on the GSD show.
Yeah, which is cool.
Yeah, Daniel was episode 33. Liberty was episode 25. If you really want to see inside the mind of some of the most successful fitness studio owners, and we'll share with you why we believe they're people you should be following, because that's what your whole list is about, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So let's go down these things one by one. For those of you watching and listening, as we go through these bullet points, we're not saying that if you're not finding success, we're not saying that you don't have any of these traits. You may have a few of them. We're just going to give you all of them one by one. So stay patient if some of these relate to you, because we may show you that some of them you feel like you may not be 100% on par with, and we're going to give you some good examples of how you can get there. So let's start. Let's start down the list.
Sure.
All the way from 1 to whatever you got here. Looks like you have maybe 10 or 15 traits here.
Yeah.
What do they have in common?
First one's positive.
All right, so what do you mean by positive? Because I think we all kind of get an idea of what it means, but tell me how it relates to the fitness studio owners you work with.
Yeah, so what I mean by positive is that, first of all, in any situation, they always look at the good that came out of it, right? So whether it be a Facebook campaign that may not have done so well, whether it was maybe something internally that they noticed, it was a good learning experience for them so that they don't repeat that and let that happen again. Okay. So I think that's a huge thing. I know on our end as account managers, we're always positive. So having someone on the other side that's also positive, those are our best customers because those conversations are a lot more proactive and they're more about results and it's more of a collaboration, really.
Here's the thing with positivity too. Some of you may be saying, I'm positive. Just think about how your life's going right now though. So it's easy to stay positive when things are going the right way, when things just falling the way you need it to fall.
Yep.
It's harder to stay positive when things are going tough, right? When things aren't working out the way you expected them to. How do you respond during negative times? Because these guys here, the ones that we're talking about, they're positive even when things aren't working, right? And that's what really helps them get there.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's go to the next one.
So they're never satisfied, but in a good way. So what I mean by that...
Well, wait, you have always learning here. Did we cover that?
No, we didn't.
I want to cover that. So, because that's an important one, and that's definitely something with these two.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about always learning from your perspective as the account manager of these guys.
So always learning, open to feedback. In a lot of cases, we constantly have to give feedback, whether it be positive or negative, of the people that we work with. And the people that succeed the most are the ones that are open to feedback. And us in the account manager role, we're also open to feedback too as well. So that feedback then turns into learning. And once we start down a path with a certain business owner, the ones that we want to work with, like Daniel and Liberty, they'll take it upon themselves to learn and become experts in that craft.
So let's go to the next one.
Sure. So never satisfied in a good way.
So what does that mean?
So what I mean by that is, yes, we're achieving good results, but I want great results. So how can we get to great results? And there's conversations that we have on our end with them, but there's also conversations that they have internally with their employees. Like, look, guys, we run our business a certain way. We don't want to be average. We don't want to be good. We want to be great.
Right.
So striving for that great, I think, is very important.
One of the guys that we work with too is Funk Fit, and those guys, their quote that they have on their wrist is 1% better every day, right? And I think that's great because that's really the same thing. It's always never satisfied. Not because you're not really content with where you're at. You're happy, you're a positive person, but you know that you can do better because you've seen what you can do in the past. So always finding a way to be a little bit better tomorrow than you were today. Mm-hmm. Okay, what's the next one?
Knowing your numbers.
Okay, so let's break these down because you also broke that down.
Yeah.
What are the numbers that these successful fitness studio owners know like the back of their hand?
So taking it from leads to booked. So booked means scheduled.
Okay.
Of those scheduled, who shows? So your show ratio. Of those, how many people that went from shown to convert?
And they actually even go, how many convert in the first day, how many convert in general.
Right.
See how quickly we can get them converted. Because a real good goal for a lot of these successful studio owners is they actually look to close on the first day of like a free week trial, right? They don't wait till the trial's over.
Right.
They do it on day one, right? Okay, go ahead.
Right. The average lifetime customer value.
Right. So for those of you guys that don't know this, I know some of you do, you basically have to know your numbers in order to really calculate this correctly, because a lot of people do this wrong because they have a gut feeling. So what I mean by that is, how long do your members stay with you? And people that don't measure, they use their gut and they say, oh, I have people that stay with us for 2-3 years. It's like, I know that, but you also have people that come in here for a month and leave. So when you take the overall average over the course of, let's say, the last 3 years, how long does the average member stay? And, industry-wide, MindBody has a conference every year, and it's called Bold. And we went last year. We're going to go again this year. But they brought up some really great stats, and in those stats, they said that out of all the fitness studio owners, they have over 58,000 customers, I think, and I think like 70% of them are fitness studios, right?
Right.
So they have all the data internally with their CRMs because that's what they have, and they were saying that the average fitness studio is only retaining 10% of their customers over the course of 12 months, which is insane. And a lot of people have a hard time believing that. I say, oh, it's not me. And maybe it's not, but think about how many members you started out with January 1st last year. Mm-hmm. And how many members did you have January 1st the following year? Now you may realize, well, I was getting about 5 to 10 new members a month, but then somehow you only have like 15 or 20 more members than you had the year before. Mm-hmm. And that's because you're losing, and you're not thinking about the ones that have been with you forever, the ones that are engraved in your minds, right? Your favorite customers. You're not thinking about them. You have to think about all of them, the great customers that are with you forever, but you also have to think about the ones that you don't even remember their name. They came in for a month and maybe came in for 2-3 workouts, paid for a month and never came back, right?
Right.
So now the average retains at a 10% rate. The best of the best retain at about a 30% rate.
Right.
Okay? Mm-hmm. So when you're looking at that, it's important. That's 3 times greater. But what can you do to get people to stay with you longer? Obviously, contracts help. And this was people on a month-to-month program, right? But not contracts. But contracts help, but also really understanding all of your numbers. And then once you know that, now you can say, okay, well, now I know our average customer stays with us for 6 months, right? Mm-hmm. And if you pay $150 a month, you know that your average lifetime customer value is $900, right? 150 times 6. Sam put these on the screen as I'm saying it so they can see the numbers too. So 150 times 6, you're looking at $900, right? So that's what your average customer's worth. But that's just on the surface what you can see. If you were to ask every customer, right, what's your number one lead source outside of like internet marketing? What's your number one lead source? What do you think?
Referrals every time.
Referrals every time, hands down, right?
Hands down.
So when you add 100 customers, you're also adding 100 of your best lead sources, right?
Right.
Now, do you think the only thing that they do is this, or do you think they're also getting waters from you, getting snacks from you? Are they also, if you sell nutritional programming or any type of tournaments or consults or events that you have, all that's additional revenue, and the more customers you have, the better. So that $150 times 6 at $900 lifetime customer value, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more that can happen from that, right? Mm-hmm. So make sure you know those numbers, but the only way to really know that number is 2 things. 1, take your total revenue, how much money you've made, let's say over the last year, and divide that by the amount of customers that actually gave you money, right? And now you know, okay, well, yeah, I do charge $100 a month, but my average is only $95. And that may be because you gave some people discounts, breaks, refunds, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. And once you do that, then you say, okay, now let's really look at all of our customers. And out of all these customers, what's their sign-up date and what's their cancellation date over the past, let's say, 18 months? Mm-hmm. Say, okay, the average customer is staying with us for 6 months. So now you can multiply those 2 numbers together, get your lifetime customer value. Now you can make good decisions in marketing. Would you give me $1 if I gave you 5? Right?
Yeah,
yes.
Every time.
Okay. But now if you know your customer value is, let's say, $1,500 versus $500, you're willing to spend more money to acquire that customer, right, in marketing than if it was lower. So I would spend $300 to acquire a customer at a $1,500 customer value, but I wouldn't spend that money at a $500 because there's costs associated with that as well. Right? Okay, cool. So let's go to the next thing. What's the other numbers?
Sure. So the next one would be total revenue.
And that should be simple. That's like the top line of your income statement.
Yeah. So I would hope that everyone knows that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
The break-even point.
Okay. You know what everyone doesn't know, though, that's kind of tied with total revenue? Because everyone doesn't know total revenue because at the end of the month, they do their books and they get it in QuickBooks or Xero or whatever they use. What they don't know is what their total recurring revenue number should be on a day-to-day basis. So let's say it was at, $50,000 a month. But today I signed up 5 new members at $100 a month. I now know that I added $500 in my recurring revenue. So every day knowing what your recurring revenue is at today.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's go to the next part.
Yeah. So the break-even point.
Break-even point. So what that basically means is what do you need to be bringing in in order to at least be at 0.
Yeah.
Right? Anything below that, you're now in the red. That's good. Those are the numbers that they know, and I'm sure there's more. Everyone kind of has all different metrics, right?
Yeah.
But what are some other things on here? The next one.
So clear goals and structure.
Okay, so talk to me about that.
So that's knowing exactly what you want to achieve, whether it be quarterly, whether it be yearly, and also having the structure in place to achieve those goals. So when I say structure, I love the people that always look at it, and the business owners, the fitness owners that look at it as, I want to have the best structure in place so that I can scale and open up another location.
Okay, so they're looking, and that's a good point too, because if you want to open up a second location, your first location needs to be rocking.
100%, rock solid.
And you can't really get there without goals. And you know this, fitness studio owners know this, because what do they do with their clients?
Same thing.
Set goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't just say like work out. Like, what do you want to achieve? When do you want to achieve it by? And now that you know those two things, now we can create a plan in place to get there. Yeah. The plan's going to be different if I need to lose 50 pounds in 3 months versus if I need to lose 50 pounds in 1 year, right? You're talking about a very different strategy to get there. And same thing here. If your goal is to acquire 100 more customers by the end of this year, that's very different than if your goal is to really get to a 15% net profit. You know, maybe this one just talks about improving the marketing strategy. This one really talks about looking at all your operating costs and how can we cut down or how can we become more efficient. Right. So, and sometimes you have more than one goal and they all play a role in each other. So yes, having good goals, I definitely have noticed that. And I know Daniel and Liberty, they all work hard strictly on their goals. Okay, awesome. What's the next one?
Location focus. So not just opening to open, right? Looking specifically at your area, what else is around you? What are the type of demographics that you're seeing in your area? Really knowing those things going into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of people will open gyms in really weird areas because they got a good deal on it, right? It's like down an alley to the left in a storage kind of place because they believe that their service is so good, people will come to it regardless. But when you need to use marketing strategies to get you there, it's tricky. It makes it very, very tough. And, we've had to not work with people because they've only had like a reach of 5,000 or 6,000 people that fit the demographic in like a 5-mile radius, when we like to typically see like how many?
I like to see 50,000 and above.
So 50,000 people. So for you guys that are, maybe you're looking at a second location, Facebook's going to be around for a little while now. I mean, the older demographics on there, and they're the laggers, so they're going to be on there for a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's constantly making improvements too, and it's only getting better and more. I mean, you look at the stock; it's still going up every day.
Right.
So, with that said, it's probably a really good idea. Actually, I know it's definitely a good idea, and it's what I would do. Opening up a second location, really looking at the options that you have, and then searching a 5-mile radius. Let's say women between 25 and 55, and how many of them exists, and Facebook will tell you those numbers, right? And Sam, if you could put a screenshot of what that looks like, JT can get you that, but a screenshot of what it looks like to see that reach, and then just circle the reach. So here it would say like whatever that number is, 50, 60, 70,000, whatever it might say, that's what you really want to go for, because that's going to really dictate it. And if you're a more expensive brand, let's say you charge $300 where everyone else in your kind of industry charges $150 to $200. Look to see what other businesses are around there, because they've probably done good research and development. Make sure you're doing that research. You're very self-aware of what your business offers and who your customers are. And then after that, where do your customers shop? What do they spend on? How much they make? And then making sure that there's enough of them in the area that you want to open up, because location has been like rule number one in marketing since the dawn of time with marketing, and it hasn't changed just because the internet's around. It's more relevant than ever.
Yep.
All right.
The next one would be working on the business, not in the business.
Okay. So Michael Gerber's book, E-Myth, right? If you guys haven't read that book, pick that book up. Sam put the little picture here. So Michael Gerber wrote the best book, I believe, as far as like the fundamentals of business, and it's called E-Myth Revisited. And it talks a lot about that. So talk to me, in your eyes, the customers that are doing this, working on the business versus in the business.
So I want a customer that's going to have delegation. Okay. I think that's huge. And I think what happens often, the easy answer is, I want to do it all myself. I want to follow up with all the leads. I want to do the staffing, I want to do the financials, and you spread yourself way too thin where you can't take a step back and actually be 100% at one thing and then delegate that out and have other people fill those holes. So instead of working on the business, all you're doing is just you're another employee, right? And that happens a lot, and it's unfortunate because what I often see is anyone that transitions from like a personal trainer where it was only them, it's only been them, and it always has been that way, and then they transition into maybe owning their own studio or something like that. They still have that mindset, that mentality that they have to do everything, which is great, but in what we're trying to achieve with fitness gyms, studio owners, it's not. The goals aren't aligned.
And you know what I'll say too, when my business has doubled in size of what it did in the first 6 years, just in the 7th year, right? So what happened, you could say, oh, well, you niched and you did this. And yeah, there's probably a lot of things that attribute to it. But what I will say is every month I feel like we're moving faster and faster. And what I have more now than I ever had before, because I was that guy, I wanted to do everything. I wanted to see what was happening. I wanted to know everything in there. And now I forced myself to not be that way. And I forced myself to say, like, talk to them about this, talk to them about that. Because I've learned the value of white space, having to have white space in my business. Because when I have white space, it allows me to think about things that I have to come up with. It allows me to think about if I was going to put myself out of business, what would I have to do? Like, what would somebody have to do to put me out of business? Right. It allows me to look at each person within the company and how can I develop them a little bit better? What do they need right now? But when you don't have that, when you're always answering a question or when you're always involved or when you're always asking questions, you're micromanaging, you're doing all these things, you end your day, you had no white space. None of that happened. Tomorrow, your day will look just like yesterday. And 6 months from now, your day will look just like yesterday because you haven't worked on the business. You just worked in it.
Yeah. And I've observed that since I've been here. I mean, the amount of different ideas and concepts that you've come up with since I've been here is astounding. And I don't think that, just in my opinion, that you would have been able to do that if you were still running the day-to-day.
If I was jumping in your
like,
job.
Yeah, if you were being an account manager, like all that kind of thing.
Right, there's just no time. Even now, I have a lot of white space. I still feel like I don't have enough because I want to come up with more, and I'm in it, Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the next one.
So the next one would be understanding digital marketing to a point.
Okay, so I know what you mean by this because we kind of talked a little bit about this. So when you first start your business, and I know because I was there too, when you first start your business, you do everything because you're a solopreneur, unless you started with capital. But if you started your business like a lot of fitness studio owners, gym owners, startups, you started with, it was just you and maybe your wife or one other person that you brought with you. Usually it's that. So when you do that, you have no choice but to wear multiple hats. You are the marketer, you are the advertiser, you are the salesperson, you are the payroll, you're the HR, you're the bookkeeping, you're the service provider, the instructor, the janitor. Something goes wrong, you're the handyman, you're the IT guy, you're everything. So, but here's the thing, little by little, as you start, creating profit, you start hiring people for those roles. And that's what a lot of these speakers, these books, they recommend. And I believe in that 100%, but I think there's an asterisk that a lot of people don't really talk about. So, if I've been in the fitness instructor, yes, it's easy for me to hire a fitness instructor. If I was doing sales, okay, I can hire a salesperson. If I was, doing the HR, the books, or whatever, the payroll, I can hire for that. Right. Because I know what I was doing, and I can hire. What a lot of people do is they don't do digital advertising bidding because they can't afford it, right? So they don't spend money on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and Google. They don't spend money there because they can't afford it. So a lot of their advertising is very basic. It's, posting stuff and, maybe some email marketing and maybe boosting some things here or there, but there's really no strategy, no funnels or anything like that. But then what happens is when you go to hire somebody, you don't know it enough to be able to hire the right person, right? It's like a guy that doesn't know basketball and you ask him to build a basketball team. He's probably not going to build as good of a team as a guy that knows it well, right? Because he knows what to look for. And I think too many people devalue how much they need to learn. They just think, oh, hire somebody that knows it better than me. And that's a very cool thing to say. Yeah, I hired somebody smarter than myself. but it doesn't mean you hire somebody that knows something that you know nothing about. You need to know enough about it. Follow it. It's going to be in your business for a while. Let's face it, internet's not going anywhere. Let's go to some conferences. Let's follow some podcasts, some blogs, and know it good enough to be able to ask great questions when you're hiring somebody, whether it's in-house or a vendor or whatever. Know enough about it so you have good expectations. You know what you should expect. And now you just need somebody to be able to run the thing and stay ahead of the curve. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so what's the next thing?
Last one. I know you're very passionate on this one. Very passionate. So I'm ready for this, to hear this actually myself. Student of sales.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, I know.
Because without sales, you don't have what?
A business.
Yeah, because you don't have customers.
That's right.
If you don't have customers, you have no business, and you're selling all the time. And some of you guys may already be tuning it out because you're like, oh, Mike's talking about it again. But I got some cool, new, fresh stuff for you. So, in particular, when it comes to showing pricing and presenting the options, this is a part that most people fail on. You know, when I met this one fitness studio owner the other day, and she had 9 options to choose from. 9. And they all made sense. Mm-hmm. So, of course, people are saying, I need to think about it. So she had a 1 time a week, a 2 time a week, a 3 time a week. And then on top of that, she had those same options at a month-to-month price, a 3-month package, and a 6-month package. So there's 9 options. And, you know, that's too much. If you ever watch that show, Bar Rescue, right?
Love that show.
What's one, or Restaurant Rescue, right? What's one of the first things that they do to the menu? Shorten it.
Yeah.
They're like, too many things on here. You have too many things. You are going to think too long. You need to turn the tables. In-N-Out Burger, great place. For those of you that are not in states that have In-N-Out Burger, I'm sorry.
You're missing out.
How many things are on the menu?
It's like, what, 5, 6?
It's ridiculous. It's like a milkshake, a cheeseburger, a double cheeseburger, and a hamburger.
Double, always.
And
Animal
French
style.
fries.
Animal style.
So In-N-Out has done it. And then you take, Steve Jobs. He left Apple. And actually, he didn't leave. He got kind of more kicked out of Apple. Went to Pixar. New CEOs came over, a few of them. Wasn't really doing well. Started to really run that company to the ground. And they had 10,000 products. They had scanners. They had printers. They had all these things, like 10,000 products. And Steve Jobs came back, and the first thing he did was chop it down to 4 things. That's it. How many phones does Apple have? And I don't talk about generation of phones. I'm talking about how many options you have. 1. And then that one option basically has 3 options that are on like size of storage. But you get the same size no matter what. Tesla, a company that people thought was going to fail, right? People thought Tesla wasn't going to make it when it first came out. They only have how many models? 2.
I was going to say, I don't know this one.
They have the Model X, which is like the SUV, and they have the Model S. And the Model 3 is not out yet. For those of you that are watching, this video was made in April 2017. It will be out, but right now it's still not even out. But they've been running with just 2 models. Now, here's the crazy thing. The Model S, let's take that model. That model really only has 1 style, but the only difference with options, much like the iPhone, is just like the battery. That's it. So whether you get the lowest version of the Model S or the highest version, no one will know it, not even you. The only difference is your car may not go as far and it may not go as fast because of the battery. Other than that, same features and all that, right? This is blowing up, and I can't remember what company it's passing right now. I think it was passing Ford. If you Google Tesla passing Ford, it's passing Ford in regards to its growth speed as far as a brand goes. So again, 2 options, right? We have 3 options, and in reality, we only have 1 because the other 2 exist for one purpose. What is it?
To make the other one look more attractive.
That's it. And for those of you that are going through and going, oh, now I know when I meet with them, I don't care. You know. I don't really care. At the end of the day, it's called the decoy effect, which you'll learn more about it in our next episode. You're looking at sales as this thing that can just be like winged it. We did that last episode too.
Winged it.
We got to figure out what
winging it. I'll look it up.
Wing it.
I'll get back with you on that.
But at the end of the day, this is a serious part of your business. What's the point of doing great marketing if you're not planning on being a great salesperson? You put the same marketing plan that drives 100 leads to this. I'll use the apples. This fitness studio and this fitness studio gets 100 leads as well. Same marketing strategy. The only difference is this guy is a student of sales, same genetic makeup as this guy, but this guy just wings it every single time. At the end of the year, who would you trust as your salesperson? And if you would rather have this guy as your salesperson, then become this guy if you're not this guy, right? Other than that, pretty good episode.
Yeah.
Did we cover everything?
I think.
You know what? No, I have more.
You got more?
I have more. Sorry, where are we at in time?
46 minutes.
We're going to cut this, and we're going to talk about it in the next sales episode because a lot of these are relevant to that. Cool. Good?
Yeah.
All right. Good. Can I do one last thing? JT, ready?
Yes.
1, 2, 3. Camera 2.
Oh.
Camera 3. Camera 1. Camera 2. Camera 1. Camera 3. We just want to make Sam work a little bit in the editing.
Oh, my neck.
Sam, you got that in the editing? Is that going to take a while?
Also, it's winged it.
Winged it.
You Google that. I love
People
it.
think it's wong, but it's winged.
All right.
Wrong.
Guys, thanks so much for tuning in today, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks so much for joining us today. If you like this episode, then subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher, and to our YouTube channel to never miss an episode. You can get all the links by going to thegsdshow.com. Thanks, and see you next time.